So I've used this before in workshops just to kind of highlight to young people that I work with how things can happen. So anyone that knew Declan knew that he was the life and the soul of the party. He wanted to get into events management. He was doing his own events with one of his friends, working with some local DJs, and he was really gassed about kind of where he was going and what he was going to be doing. He always was there to help other people. Like, there was never a time that I'd ever come across Declan and he wouldn't be like, oh, miss, he always still called me miss, but oh, do you need this? Or, oh yeah, can I help with this? And he was always willing to help other people. He oozed confidence, not in a cocky way, but in the kind of way that you could tell he was confident, but he just had this persona, this charisma. And again, anyone watching this that knew Declan knows exactly what I'm talking about. He'd volunteer. He did a lot of voluntary work, so he actually worked with a lot of the community organisations that he might have been involved with whilst he was younger. And he always wanted to kind of do things to better himself. He was a very talented footballer, and some of the capacities I met him in were through football. So that was something he was passionate about. He wanted to go into football, and when he did play football, you kind of saw that passion ignited. Unfortunately, despite all of the positive things that were going on in Declan's life, there were some difficulties, and Declan lost people in his life that he was very close to. And I can only imagine how that may have affected him. But being the person that he is, Declan would not have spoken about it. He quite possibly would have just pretended that he was okay. And again, due to the qualities that he possessed, he quite possibly would have been the one supporting all the people around him that also experienced those losses, and making out that he was good to go and be their rock. Unfortunately, on the 4th of April, Declan lost his life. Still to this day, I personally don't feel like I know whether it was the intent was actually to commit suicide or that he was just intoxicated. I don't know, but either way it hurts. Even if I did know, I don't think it would make it any easier. So why is Declan's story important to me? I worked with Declan in 3 different capacities. So I first came across Declan when I started football coaching. And he was 8, and I still remember him and Ali. First time I saw him, Declan with his little cocky self. Who's this woman coming to coach us football? Are you being serious? So he was over at Holt. And you could just feel his personality, like, straight away. And we grew to get on, and he grew to respect me as a female football coach, which was great. A few years down the line, I moved on. I no longer coached at Holt, and Declan moved on. And I went over to North Birmingham Academy to become an exam invigilator and to do adult numeracy and literacy lessons. And I just remember walking to my car after I'd finished work, and someone was like, "Yo, miss." When I turned around, there was Declan and Ali, and I hadn't seen them since they were probably around 9.5, 10. So you can imagine at this stage, I think they were about 12, 13. And it was just really good to see them. And again, you could just see and feel Declan's spirit. And we were just having a catch up. We was talking about how he's getting on at school, if there's anything I could help with, that was going to keep an eye on him and he better be staying out of trouble. At the time, he was looking for a team to play football with, so I tried to kind of push him in the right direction. And then the third time I bumped into him was when I started managing the women's football team at Continental Star. And again, I went to watch the men's team play a game, and lo and behold, Declan was there. And then he was telling me he played for the 16s. And yeah, it was brilliant to see him. So I worked with him in many capacities, and it was just one of those things where we kept bumping into each other. So to see this young man grow from the age of 8 all the way up to, at that point, it was 16. And then I bumped into him again at the age of 19. And we were just having a really good catch up. And he just seemed in a really positive place. And he still seemed like that happy-go-lucky Declan that I always knew. But I believe everything happens for a reason. And I don't believe that it was an accident that me and Declan came across each other's path. Not only in the 3 different working capacities, but also when I bumped into him again. Not only in the 3 different working capacities, but also when I bumped into him again. My spirituality tells me it wasn't a coincidence. When I did hear about Declan and what happened to him, there was this major sense of guilt that I felt like I'd failed Declan. But not only Declan, I felt like I'd failed God. I felt like God had brought this young man into my life in a number of different capacities, and I hadn't seen the signs. And I want to be really careful not to, like, anyone that watches this that also worked with Declan or was around Declan, I don't want anyone else to be feeling that sense of guilt. This is the journey that I've gone through. And again, having anxiety, you do always overthink things. So yeah, so there was this big sense that God, he sent him into my life. I was meant to help him. I should have recognised certain signs. I should have taken the time to sit and chat with him and just find out what he was really feeling. But if I'm being honest, now I've started to realise that me trying to hold myself as this highly important person, that, yeah, God must have sent me into Declan's life to have an effect on him. And the more and more I think about it, I've now started looking at it the other way around. And thinking, maybe God sent Declan into my life on all those different occasions to have the effect that he has had on me. And to kind of open my eyes a little bit. Because when I felt that sense of failure, I then started to evaluate whether what I was doing was of benefit to the young people I worked with, and if I could allow someone like Declan to inevitably end his life, then surely I wasn't doing a good job, and I needed to reevaluate what I could do to try and do a better job. So I was inspired to set up Mind Our Mentalities, because I thought to myself, what things could have helped Declan? I thought, what if I'd been Declan's mentor? Imagine me and Declan met on a monthly basis, and I sat down to help him pursue his passions, and like, he knew that, right, once once a month he was going to meet up with Nads, and we were going to sit there and we were going to kind of put a plan of action together, and we could have had conversations, and yeah, Nads, I want to do events management, and this is what I'm thinking, and blah, blah, blah. And I could have kind of put him in the right direction with people. I could have given him an advice on things that would kind of help him put himself out there, that kind of thing. Maybe that would have had some sort of effect on him. And when I speak about the other elements that I feel could have helped, then it'll kind of make sense. I do feel like education for parents on signs, symptoms and triggers, because again, like I said, I feel so blessed, or hopefully I feel blessed, that I'm in a position that there are young people, there are so many young people out there that I have worked with, that I have recognised the signs of difficulties and mental health issues that they're facing, and been able to put support in place. But I don't know that because I'm a parent. I know that because of the environment that I work in. And if parents, I was listening to a petition put together by a guy that lost his brother, saying that all teachers should have mental health first aid because of how vital it is. But I also believe that parents should have mental health first aid, because I feel like they need to recognise the signs and symptoms as well, and the triggers. A support system for parents. So somewhere where parents can actually say, well, oh, my son, my daughter, they've gone through this, this and this, and telling me that they're all right, and they kind of seem like they're all right, but I don't know if there's anything I can do to help them or to support them, or anywhere I can go to support me. And a place where young men could openly discuss their mental health and how to look after it. And that's the big one there for me. And this is why I say the mentoring program. It would be nice to think that, right, I can open up some sort of youth hub, invite young men to come in and say, right, okay, let's talk about your mental health. Any of you depressed? Any of you feel anxious? Any of you worry about things? And they'd be like, yeah, well, actually, I was thinking this, and I believe this, and yeah, my mood's been a bit... It's not going to happen. I'm a realist. It's not going to happen. However, that's where the mentoring came into place. There were an organisation that young men could be buddied up with when they leave school, and they've got someone that they can kind of talk to about what they want to do in their life. And they meet with that person regularly, and that person's accountable for them, and they go through different bits of what they want to do, why they want to do it. That person would also be able to recognise other things going on in their lives. So they might not have to. So in Declan's case, I sit there and I think to myself, if I'd been mentoring him and we'd been talking, and I can just picture the conversation. I'd be like, oh, Declan, how come you haven't done X, Y, and Z? And he'd be like, you know what, Nads, I really wanted to do that, but I ain't even been sleeping. Why ain't you been sleeping? Well, I'm trying to get this events promotion thing going. So obviously I've been out loads of nights, but then like when I get back home, I'm just finding it difficult. Straight away, I'd look at, right, okay, if he's not sleeping properly, that's not good for his health. Let me look at how I can support him. Let me look at if there are things or agencies available that I can refer him to, and kind of get the support that he needs, and recognise things in himself that he probably may not have recognised, or may have been avoiding, or may have been in denial about. So those are the things that I believe could have helped.